All right, so Loma parking structure. Um, Here's what I've gotten so far. Maybe it'll help you kind of get an idea what's going on now that I've kind of got my eye in a little bit, kind of see you got some ideas and stuff. So go over how this all mounts up, how I see it built. So anyway, I kind of laid out first, just laying out where the power is going to go. I did some estimates for LEDs with the logos and everything, kind of based off of what we got with ACC and how we do these logos. So we got basically a double banger for the bottom one, the faculty medical clinics. We can get away with a 2-banger there, and we'll probably need 3 for emergency self parking level 2 type stuff. So I already have all these laid out. So I went ahead and just Frankensteined. We made a 4-banger for the Agua Caliente tower or pylon. So I went ahead and Frankenstein and made a 3-banger there. So that was kind of what we would need to run this. And we need a 3-banger to run the logo. And we just need this 2-banger here to run medical. So if we were to combine, I would have Frankensteined the 4 with the 2, and that would be a 5-banger there. So that would run both letters and still need to keep this separate. So I'll kind of go over the layout. When you're doing this stuff, your secondary 12 volt is what suffers from the length of cable. So the maximum cable runs 50 feet. And even then that's kind of pushing it. You really don't want to do that. The 18 gauge cable that they give you and sort of what we work with only is good for 15 feet. So that being said, you want to try to, centrally locate your power supplies to feed everything. But obviously it's a kind of an issue here. But if we could, so looking at this, assuming that obviously this is more of the roof side of it, if we could put our power supply somewhere in the middle here to feed self-parking, that way level 2 only has a little bit to go. And then faculty medical clinics can kind of work off of that towards the ceiling here. Obviously this would, I assume, is the driving deck. And so you wouldn't want to put it down here. And then P4, if this was where you would kind of centrally locate your power supplies, this would be way too long a run to get to here. So I'm proposing that, you get the power run kind of to the center-ish here somehow. And then we can also, if we can break it along and try to get it over here, that would be awesome. Because then, excuse me. So then, that way we can put the 3-banger, we can actually mount it to the back of this, tuck it up in there. And then we could choose to maybe do a 5-banger. I have a couple options here. So if we were to take the 5-banger and put it towards the ceiling above faculty medical, then that could then feed all of this kind of centrally, and they could just run their power to it. And then from there, even if they don't do it for us, we could run an EMT across and then power this guy. Or as I was laying out the raceways, we could take and transfer it to the backside of the 2 raceways and, paint it and stuff. And, so what? It is what it is. Then that way they can run the power to it here, and it could still be centrally located, but sort of, self-contained, if you will. So it could sit right here in between. I kind of have a side profile. So if you had your 2 raceways, top and bottom here as a side view, we could put the box on the back side and switch and everything. And I think it would be far away enough from where people can mess with it. Nor, maybe they wouldn't want to mess with it, whatever. But this 5-banger here could take care of all of this. And then, like I say, it'll just be a matter of getting power over to where this logo sits. Like here, I got it laid out on the back side there. We could hide it there. So anyway, so that's kind of the first problem, is just getting the power, and then knowing where you need to divide things helps to kind of break up, how you build the raceways and stuff. So the way I see the raceways is, you kind of how you have it. I have a 4x6 here, which is what most of the off-the-shelf extrusions are. Just to keep it kind of light. I have what I'm doing is I'm doing like a center core of 2x2 by 3/16. That's going to be the main structure. So you can see that would be like the blue stick there. So this is 22 feet. I kind of went off of this medical clinics thing. That's sort of the trickiest part of it. And then all the things I come up with, we'll just keep it standardized. And that way all the parts are the same and we can just production this thing like crazy. Eli Whitney and the cotton gin. So what I propose is doing a top and bottom 090 little channel, Lords on faces. And so we'll just kind of have a gooey center here with a hard candy shell. And then that will give us our structure. So as the 2x2 runs through, we'll just have little verticals that we will just tack in. And then that just creates a nice little raceway. And it adds a heck of a lot of structure because by the time you Lords on the face, you have, 6 inches of shear. So you're creating basically a 4x6 tube that's a lot lighter than a 4x6 tube, 1/8 inch. And then you have the structure, the lamination of having, like an airplane wing, you have that 2x2 running through. So this will be super solid. And then we can strategically for family, for the medical here, we can strategically run verticals behind like the L and the I here. And then that would connect the two. And so that way we can do that span with no problem whatsoever. Then the way I see it connecting to the plates, like I was saying, we make a plate that goes flat against the concrete. See, this is only 24 inches wide. You'd have a 36 inch wide post or whatever. But for the ends of this one, that's really, I'd like to beef it up where where this hits here and this hits here. That would be sort of a 3-bolt kind of thing. And then that 2x2 3/16 will slide through this 1/4 inch plate that has a 1/4 inch vertical, and that gets welded. So you see like this one has 4 of them here, and then that 2x sliding through, and we can burn that really good. And then that 2x is connected directly to this plate, and then we can burn that plate all the way down. And then when we make the raceway, the 090, we kind of notch it and stuff, and it'll cover that, and kind of just make it look clean. And then you'll have just these bolts here. So that whole flat plate will just, mount right to the concrete, be nice and strong. And then it just duplicate that on the other side, but it could be smaller because you're going to have this plate and this plate together. Whether or not these actually connect or not, I don't know, jump off that bridge when we get to it. But that way, also you want to keep your bolt holes. I think they like to see more than 4 inches apart. So that's, 6 inches there. So we slide this plate over, slide that plate over. So that means we can kind of hide it behind some of the letters, but some of these letters might have to be off and the backer might have to be off for install. The wire can just be hanging out, and then they can access these bolts. And then they'll just have to, frap on them, and just do a couple letters here and a couple letters here. But the rest of it, I believe we can go ahead and just have it all ready, have it all wired up. We can incorporate lift points. Again, we can just do little 1/4 inch plates. I can make a little notch on the top of the raceway and poke it out. And then we'll have lift points ready to go. And then we can just lift this whole section here. Like I say, this was 22 feet here. And then that's that side too. For the one that kind of overhangs, this would just slide down a little bit. Again, it's the standardization of parts. These little girder pieces here would be the same for all of it. The raceway, other than the fact that, where the letters attach, these parts will be, but how we do it's the same. So if we were to, that would be, the hardest one would be these guys, the suspended. So that handles that. And I have a feeling that'd be nice solid method for that. As far as emergency parking level 2, I would maybe just break that into the actual, the ones that are electrical, just kind of keep it all the same. So if emergency is one kind of power supply, we can just maybe lift emergency as one, because I don't think it'll be that much longer. It's not that much longer than this. This was 22 feet here. So that's, less than that. Self-parking might be a little bigger, but it's okay. I think it's, for lift, and then, level 2, we do that. So keeping in mind, we just keep it standardized. Again, it does not to scale, but all I would do is just take the smaller plate and then just slide it down, down the pole here, and then just keep the same idea though. Just have that same kind of plate that welds directly to the post. We don't need any kind of middle posts here because what we'll do is we'll slide these plates down. I don't know if these are being structural or not, but this is almost 100 inches apart here. So I still think it'll be strong enough. I just play an engineer on TV. I'm not really an engineer. And then the lifting points, we can actually incorporate them into the plates as well for these two. So these will just kind of poke up just like that. They could poke up through the raceway. And then again, two clevises, just hook them up and this whole thing could lift. So this could be emergency. This could be the self-parking. And then we probably only need like 3 of them here for level 2. So anyway, so we just slide these back and forth, but essentially this would be super standardized. So again, it's just an 090 hard candy shell. Electrical, I would just keep electrical plus for watertight and stuff like that. But I just keep it at the bottom. So I would keep the top rail for all of it. The top rail would be pure structural. That way, this little hole here and stuff, don't have to worry about it. It is low voltage anyway, so water doesn't really matter, but it does. We don't want stuff to get wet. So on the bottom here, that will be how you access. So the bottom skin will go long, and we'll just have an access plate panel all the way along the bottom here, screws on the bottom. And then all we really need is just a place to run cable in between. So each of these little verticals here, these guys here, will have just a little hole in them right here that you can just feed through. So, you have a door access doors all the way along, well, on the bottom here, but you'll have the access doors in between, and then just feed the cables through. Most all this wiring will be done in the shop. It'll just be the field connections that need to be done. So, but we just need minimal access for wires. But like I said, this raceway is going to be mostly structural, which is why it'll be very difficult to put the power supply in here, because we're relying on this 2x2 to be doing all the work. And the 6x4 is just sort of somewhere to mount the letter and just make it look like we do. So anyway, but this is a good solution, keeps everything. And then it should be relatively simple to get a pattern up there. You drill your holes and you're good to go. That brings us kind of to the mounting kind of methods. And then this brings us to the logos here. So I'm seeing that we would be using these are 4-inch studs. I think YJ's talked about they usually ask us to do a 2.5-inch embed into concrete and then using that Hilti. So I think if that's correct, this is a 4-inch bolt. And so that would be typical for both the letter raceways here. And then also let's get to the logos. So borrowing from the 143-inch bad boys here and kind of how we did it there for the spa or Agua Caliente. So kind of flipped it around. This is just the blue will just be the ring of 1/4-inch flat plate. It'll be kind of solid up here where it intersects the concrete. It'll be just cut in half, very simple, just 2 pieces. Fab can just weld it together like they do. And the fact that it's so much smaller and just new pieces, it doesn't have to be broken up into all this. It just, what a big difference it makes, being able to route pieces and, smaller pieces. So there's less of that. So a side view though, trying to keep some strength in it. So you'd have your Excel art extrusion there. And then these would be 6-inch wide fingers that come down and give that kind of support here. This magenta would be a 10-inch plate that goes up underneath. And then I have these as like these Tapcons that, again, 2.5-inch embed that will go in from underneath that will help sort of stabilize this axis as opposed to the front mount. And this could be done with a fairly simple 090 template or 063, kind of just do the part that kind of touches it and then folds underneath. And if you want to, we could put that up in place first, and then you can pre-drill all your holes and pre-drill these holes. And then we could do a lift point on top, just like we did with all the spa stuff or Agua Caliente stuff. They all have a single point up top. We'll swing them in. And again, because we can't do a stud down here with the epoxy, because you have to come in this way first, and there wouldn't be a way to have that poking out as well with the epoxy. So whether or not you use these, or we drill holes, leave them, epoxy these in, bring them, and then have these epoxied in after, but you can't really remove it without cutting that stud. So anyway, and then this is kind of how the 3-banger would look if we chose to do it. I would modify it where it would fit, because I have these cut out for weight. So on the back, this would be kind of cut out, kind of skeletonized. And then we'd have, braces going across to give it strength. So that's these guys here. But within that, we could have the power box for this kind of tucked in between these braces here if we wanted to. And then, again, it would just matter of running permanent power over and plugging in. So, but anyway, so I kind of see that. So again, like this would be typical epoxied in studs for the raceways. That's how I see the raceways there. So I think that kind of gives you an idea. If you like that, that's kind of how I see it. If you see anything, give me a call, hit me up and we can powwow on it. But, so yeah, I think that's it.